because we are heading towards the festive season, I thought it would be wise to have a conversation on why it's important to take care of your mental health in the festive season.
You reminded me of the music.
The
One of the
music.
things that stresses me
Is the
is the
music.
music. There is an expectation, and I honestly want to emphasize this, that let's check with our partner. Because sometimes you're waiting for that end of year difference in our lives. And this season is a season of reunion, happiness, people being together. But if you haven't nurtured this, then it's going to be a problem. In every situation that we have to deal with, the most important person is you. Just check how you are able to respond to certain things.
What is that one piece of advice or wisdom that you'd give our audience to walk away with from this show on how they can go through the festive season in a mentally healthy way? Welcome back to Reality Check. We are excited that you are back again with us. This channel cares for hearts and minds, and if you are looking for content around mental health in the areas of family, marriage, the wonderful individual that you are in the workplace, in your relationships, you are in the right place. So consider subscribing and making this your stop or stopover for information on all matters mental health. My name is Rachel. I am the host, and I'm joined by Dr. Eva Satwine, who is a trained therapist. She's a life coach, a parenting coach, and she can support you as well in premarital counseling, postmarital counseling, and all those areas. And she is also the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, which in simple terms is a therapist practice. And if you are looking for counseling support, you need support with your parenting journey, that's the place to go. And we'll link our contacts in the description box. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So, because we are heading towards the festive season, I thought it would be wise to have a conversation on why it's important to take care of your mental health in the festive season. I know that sounds like maybe an oxymoron, like it's festive, we're all going to be happy. But the truth is some people find it festive while others find it distressful, And so I thought we could start on a personal note. Have you ever experienced challenges with your mental health within the festive season? Or what are your thoughts about the festive season? Is it something that you look forward to? Or are you stressed just even thinking about the festive season?
What do you want from me?
What do I want from you? The truth.
Yeah, so when we were off air, I had started telling you my story. I think the festive season, if you were to ask me, as you've rightly said, this is a great, and I'm going to talk about the benefits of this festive season from a mental health perspective. But since you've asked for my experience, let me begin with that. I was just remembering when our children were still young, had twins, had other little ones, and the travel. I think maybe the biggest problem for me was just thinking about getting out of Kampala, man. Now, we want to get out of the city. I can't wait to be out of Kampala.
For a break.
I need a break from this city.
Yeah.
But the whole travel,
Preparing,
pack, go.
Yes,
Have you packed this and that and that? And I find it extremely stressful. And it has lessened now that the children are
older,
bigger, so everyone manages themselves. But then also traffic jam.
Traffic.
I've experienced, there's a time we were traveling and we spent 4.5 hours between Kampala and PG.
4.5.
4.5. And then we had to return. We realized
you were not going to make it.
We were not going to make it. So we got somewhere and we had to drive back. Came, slept, and left on Christmas Day.
Very early. It was
impossible. I think traffic was up to, I don't know, there's this Lukaya.
No way.
And then we were told, Lukaya, there was something that had been
like a truck
blocked and all. So if you ask me for something I dread,
it's the travel.
Is the travel.
Oh my goodness.
Can I say something else? Maybe you relate with this. I think you talked about it some time back. Going home, and I think ladies will relate with this, going home and then you cook all through. And by the time you travel back, you're actually more exhausted.
More exhausted than when you traveled.
So I think that, of course, now things have improved. We get people to
prepare
meals for us, and I think that's important for people to work on. We'll get into that. But I would find it extremely stressful where you, the lady of the home,
has to show up. Yes.
So when you show up, then you're cooking, then you're welding, you're cleaning, then there's no rest.
That's true.
At all.
Yeah.
At all. And of course, other people you've gone with whose names I won't mention. Sorry, Rachel. We've started on that note. So they are enjoying.
Yes.
And they are saying, man,
Christmas is the
festive
best.
season. Ash, I had rest. But you're tired.
You're exhausted.
You're so exhausted.
Yeah.
And you're traveling back and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going back into the new year.
Yes.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
So that's, I think I've experienced it. Of course, over time, a few things have improved, had to change a number of things. And, but also one of the things that I'll tell you is sometimes, and again, my sisters will probably resonate with this, the guilt to rest. You know, that like you're resting and it feels, some people actually can make you guilty. Come, you're a woman, really like,
how can you sit?
How can you sit?
Can you be in the chair?
How, like, really?
Who do you expect is going to put the food on?
Who do you think is going to do this?
Bambi women. You are the real MVPs in the festive season.
Yeah, so I think that was my experience, that I would consider a number of things, of course. But honestly, if you ask me to summarize them into two, one, excessive traffic, everyone going, you've seen that traffic, but also the fatigue, the exhaustion that is possible if we are not mindful. And of course, if you do this, it affects not only our mental health, but
even
also our physical health.
Yeah.
So by the time you want to return to the city, you need a massage.
You need a massage. You need another 6 days to recover from the 6 days you were out.
But then now you're starting. You're going back to work.
Yeah. Or the kids are going back to school. You know, and the cycle kind of repeats itself.
Right.
So you represent what many people go through. Although there are many other ways that, you know, the festive season impacts people. And I want you to highlight some of those, both the good and the bad.
100%. Let me begin with the good, because we don't want to give that
Just
ugly picture, because that's what I started with. Festive season is an opportunity for reunion, for relationships. And I go back to the importance of relational health. This is the time we are able to meet and be together. This is the time we have an opportunity to have less serious conversations, just do the little things and be able to connect. This is an opportunity to connect honestly. This is an opportunity to know our children, spend time with them, go to activities that are not city-based, go look at nature, go look at the cows, if you have them, the farm, the gardens, whatever we have. This is an opportunity to really loosen up, and it's a great opportunity for relationships.
That's true.
You know, very, very, very great. It's an opportunity for us to fit our social wellness. because you're connecting, but also spiritual wellness.
That's true.
Because again, our festive season, we are also remembering a number of things, connecting with the Lord, and very, very important season to nurture our relationships. As I mentioned, time to also eat fresh food from the garden. But connecting with our parents, some of us were still privileged to have them, and a number of things, honestly, but mainly to have a shift
from what the year has been.
Been, because you see, routine sometimes can be exhausting, like the work routine. So breaking that, it gives us a little bit of wellness.
That's true.
Yeah, because the body now has to adjust to a number of other things, and especially less serious stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very great opportunity. And one of the things, of course, the power of conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoy those conversations, the jokes, the word, where you're just seated and you don't have this strict structured life. So that also is important for mental health.
Yes.
Of course, structured life is important for its place.
For a time,
but
yes.
the festive season should help us to loosen
Release.
up,
Yes.
and have that kind of emotional wellness, emotional cleansing, emotional release. Time to express ourselves.
This is true.
So it's an opportunity for us to sleep a little more, but then maybe connect at that point and say, by the way, we haven't had an opportunity to have this conversation. Can we talk about this? So it is a very, very great opportunity for us to foster wonderful relationship or relational connection.
Yeah. And bond.
And
Yeah,
bond.
and bond.
And bonding.
Yeah, so that's the positive.
That's the
and I
positive.
know, like, because of the festive season, so the music is going to start playing. Everyone is attuned to creating that excitement. I think they're endorphins, just getting people to be excited about the season. So you end up spending more, obviously. You're spending time with friends. You're buying things. Just the spirit of Christmas is in the air. However, all the nice things you've mentioned also remind people of the terrible things or experiences that they've had in their lives. So for some people, the festive season, apart from the exhaustion or the travel, might remind them of traumas that they've experienced. Maybe they had a loss. So maybe speaking to how it can impact people negatively.
Yeah, that's right. And even maybe I should start with even the negatives that are embedded in the festive season. And you triggered me.
Yeah.
You triggered me, Rachel. You reminded me of the music.
Yes.
One of the things that stresses me
is the music.
The music. Imagine. Our city, what happens during Christmas.
Chaotic.
Now, I think I'm a person who loves, it's very interesting. I love quiet and I love order, maybe so there's something that Christmas music does to me. It triggers me.
It triggers you.
It just triggers me. The things, the decorations,
the lights and the
the light. I get I don't know, I get completely disorganized in my mind, in my brain. I just feel like, okay, when is this ending?
Coming down, yeah.
When is it coming down? Because that's too much for me. Now, it reminds me of, there's so many things that happen. Let me bring up something that, the expectations, the conflicts that usually come with the festive season, because I think I've met in my work, I've met a number of people that have been victims of those conflicts. Of, we planned to do this, we haven't done it. Honestly, should we go home for Christmas, or we also need to go somewhere else? You understand?
Yeah.
Because there are people, families who have the routine of going to the countryside,
yes,
to the village, and it is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, we should do that. I can't wait to go to our village and see things differently. But then there are couples, for instance, who have, and especially ladies, who plan that, can we maybe have one Christmas where we go somewhere else, maybe go take vacation to some other destination.
Yeah. National park.
National park,
yes.
or Dubai, or Zanzibar, and then
The one in charge.
the one in charge says, we are going to the village.
Yes.
Now, if you have had an experience like mine, where
Oh Lord.
please note that I no longer do those things.
I hope not.
But where it's routine.
Yes.
Someone thinks the only thing we do,
can do
in
it.
the village is for me to get exhausted. Can I also have a time
To rest.
yes, and enjoy the festive season? So that has been a major stress factor that I have seen, where there is disagreement and people just disagree, fight through the festive season. They start the year on a very bad note.
That's true. That's very true.
You see?
Yeah.
Of course, expectations, like I thought you'd surprise me with something. The year is ending. You haven't bought me anything.
Lord.
That's also there. Haven't you met it?
There, it happens.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so that also has been such a big issue. And by the way, that's not so small.
No. It's not.
Now, I already mentioned that the festive season, there is an expectation, and I honestly want to emphasize this, that let's check with our partners, because sometimes you're waiting for that end of year difference in our lives, and so you're hoping maybe something that hasn't happened before, someone will think about
But it's in your head.
But
You're
it's
not-
in your
you're not
head. You haven't
communicating
downloaded
it.
it to the
Yes,
person. Probably you haven't had an opportunity to communicate. You know, our busy life. Our busy life, everyone is busy, but you are hoping that you could touch base and do all that and sit together and listen to each other, but maybe buy you something or surprise you.
I don't know.
Then the surpriser gets surprised. Or the other way around. So it is. It's also an opportunity, really, to evaluate our expectations. And maybe communicate them.
That's true.
Communicate them. I've had people who have some, especially partners, marriage partners, who have kept this and watched and said, let me see.
So who are you helping?
And then again they get surprised, and then it becomes a point of conflict and brokenness. But coming back to your question of the festive season reminding us of the losses, the challenges, it could also bring that, because you sit and reflect and then probably make a decision. This year has been just
Terrible.
a loss. Right?
Yeah.
Now, again, it could be in terms of relationships, because this calendar thing has an impact on our thinking. So you also look at January, Feb, up to November, December. You're like, what have I achieved?
Yes.
What have I achieved?
Yes.
It's been a lost year.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage people. You see, that can happen. Not every season is for celebration. That's why I've been sharing a message. Don't pursue. Don't look at life just from the standpoint of happiness only. Life brings both sides, and so if, for instance, you've made a loss in your business, it could be you made a financial loss, but you can you also made a benefit, a gain in a relationship, or learning a lesson. You know, you learned something that probably someone else wouldn't have gotten. So let's not just look at life from the loss standpoint. Maybe you gained something, you learned a thing. But going relational, again, there are people's relationships that have been ravaged by conflict throughout the year.
Yeah.
Throughout the year. So you hear something someone says, what am I even celebrating? Wait a minute, even Jesus, who is who we are.
Who is the reason for the season?
Who is the reason for the season? What have you done for me? That can also happen where someone thinks their life has been just pain and nothing
the
else
entire year.
and the entire year.
Yeah.
But also speaking of losses around, like you lost a family member.
Yes.
I lost my sister during the year, and it's very painful.
It is.
It's extremely painful, and so when you look and it reminds me, I lost my dad in November. I lost my brother in November. You know,
All in the same month?
in the no
Different years?
2 years later.
Oh dear.
And years back. But every time we were going for Christmas, I would be like,
What's the point?
what's the point? Because November, December,
Not
just
too far
pain.
from each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not too far from each other. So I remember that honestly lingered on for quite some time. But at the same time, when all these thoughts come, especially things we cannot change,
Yeah.
number one, I've learned to counsel myself and know, oh, okay, in this year, yes, it happened this year, but we've spent so many years, all of us together and all. I never probably took time to thank God for that, so I cannot just focus on
This one thing.
and to discredit the whole and say it's been a loss. And plus, there are so many other things that have gone right that I may, if I chose to look on the negative, then I can lose sight of the great things that have happened. So it's normal for someone to feel a sense of loss, and you think this year, I wish it could be written off the calendar, rather than like history. I don't want to remember it.
Yeah.
But then we also have to remind ourselves intentionally that there are certain things that probably have happened that are good that we haven't seen, because life unfolds in binary form.
That's
There's
true.
a positive,
And
there's
a
a negative,
negative,
and our mental health is going to be dependent on what we focus on. Perspective is going to be very important, and then also to know that in life there's things we can't control. You know, the whole 90-10% principle. Life presents us with things we may not be able to control, and anything the principle of wellness is such that we should, if we want to be well, we have to to be intentional about not directing our energy into things we cannot control.
Wow.
Yeah. Why did God do this? I don't understand him. You see, he doesn't owe you
An explanation.
And when he blesses us, he doesn't give us an explanation.
This is true.
And so when disaster comes, he doesn't owe us an explanation. So we need to always have the wisdom to know that there are certain things we can't control, and anything you can't control, you have to accept it. Yeah. So I think it's important, again, as we look at the losses in the year, check whether you had control over them. And any time you realize you didn't have any control, don't just release it and let who has control have control.
Yeah. I think there's a pressure that I would want you to comment about, which is the financial pressure. Because like I said, in the festive season, there's an almost unsaid demand to spend money. You know, people are having mega lunches, they are hosting friends. You know, you need to buy, when we were growing up, they bought us Christmas clothes and, food. So it's like the year has been going a certain way, but now because it's the festive season, we're going to splash. But not everybody has the means to splash, and to spend that amount of money. So talk about the financial pressure, and I think what people can do to cope with financial pressures. Are there ways that people can spend Christmas without feeling the need to spend money?
Okay, so some of these things come natural, and speaking as a professional wellness expert, it's very important for us to know that celebration is part of our wellness. Because when we celebrate, we have a happiness hormone. Now, celebration is important. It is okay. Probably you have been saving to spend, and I'm going to talk about the other one.
Yeah.
But probably you've been saving to celebrate.
Yes.
And to buy a few things, to be different, to remodel your house, to do all that. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And now, where stress comes from is that there are people who are also rigid. I mean, like someone saying, what's
the
this?
point?
What's the
Yes,
point?
yes.
Christmas will come and go.
Yeah.
That's another extreme. So you see, in wellness, in the science of wellness, we have to avoid extremes.
Okay.
Of course, there are people who are also rigid. Maybe I should call stingy. But I think the professional word is dismissiveness. And as I mentioned before, Christmas or the festive season, it reminds us of things we need to celebrate.
That's true.
It's a season of celebration. So there are people who are dismissive of celebration. Like I know someone who says, that family also with their parties, or
all the time.
They don't know that actually celebration activates happiness.
That's true.
Now, anything extreme is dangerous. So it is okay. There is what we call living within your means.
Yeah.
And living within your means doesn't mean you're deprived.
No.
So I can find a way of celebrating. I can buy something, but it doesn't have to be expensive. We also have this notion that any celebration has to be
grand, big. Yeah.
No, just because you see, celebration is actually celebration of relationships. I can celebrate a relationship with me. I can take myself out.
Buy
myself a dress or buy myself coffee. You see, and just feel good, and I drink that juice which I haven't done. It's about doing things differently, and that always activates happiness. As long as the different we are talking about, the different thing is a healthy thing.
Yes.
You
That's
see, if it's a healthy choice, it is okay. Do it. But then, if you spend and you're spending outside of your means, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Because then you can't sustain that.
Yeah.
And it is going to trigger
Other
secondary
problems.
stresses.
Like school fees that is
Like
coming
school
up
fees.
in the
I know
next
people
month.
who have, for instance,
Yeah.
they've spent so much money, or they've hired vehicles, they've gone on vacation. Boom, January. They have no fees.
Nothing. Rent is knocking on the door. And
What has happened then? They made what we call impulsive decisions. Oh, it's Christmas. Look, life is short.
Yes.
Every time we try to
Life is
shorten
short.
life and it becomes long,
Longer. That's true.
then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because that also happens. So you have to be realistic. So in trying to balance it, if we're going to achieve balanced, good mental health, then you have to see what can I afford, because the excitement, there's something excitement does to our brains.
You're not able to think
You're
rationally.
not going to think logically.
Yes.
You're going to think emotionally.
Yeah.
You see, so if you're not able to do what we call emotional regulation, then you're likely to get into that impulsive spending, hoping that you'll get a deal in January and things will be okay, and then you can easily get out of the realistic framework of life, and then plunge into a crisis after.
Yes.
So that happens. So my point is, it's okay, celebrate, but celebrate within your
reason,
means.
within your means.
Within your means.
Yeah.
Do that and make sure that you're not horribly outside of. Of
That's very, very key. I think the other thing that is likely to be a problem within the festive season and affect people's mental health is family dynamics.
Yeah.
So either there's a bit of dysfunction in your family, perhaps you have a situation there where maybe you can't all be together, or for like what you talked about earlier, you have in-laws expecting that the wife of the home or the woman of the house is going to be a certain way. She's going to cook a meal, cook up a storm in the kitchen, whilst this woman of the house is not feeling like that is her responsibility.
He also wants to rest.
Also wants to rest, put her feet up, enjoy time with family. So there's expectations, there's, family members who don't get along, and I think I would want for you to speak to families that find themselves in situations like that. You've just gone through a divorce. So maybe the children are living with the mom or the dad. And so how do you navigate Christmas? How do you navigate a festive season when there's a dysfunction or when there are difficult family members? What would that scenario look like? And maybe to speak to how they can cope.
Yeah, so that happens. Actually, it's a big thing.
It is.
It's a very, very big thing, especially when you've spent the whole year fighting over that, and there is disconnection. You see, that's what we mentioned, that this season is a season of reunion,
yes,
happiness,
yes,
people being together. But if you haven't nurtured this, then it's going to be a problem. It's going just to be a reminder of the agony that you have experienced through the year. And of course, there are all those dynamics. It's whenever there is brokenness, there's dysfunctionality, then this can be a reminder of the challenges that you have had. And then it hits hard, because now if I know, for instance, families where, let me use nothing against my brothers, but where, for instance, a dad has disappeared from the family, and now this mom is home, they are here in town, they want to go to the village, but now this person is not with them, so she's stuck. Should I go now to his village with the children? What are we doing when we appear there? What is going to happen? So it is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. That's why you've heard me say, let's try to nurture our families. The stakes are so high. They are so high. Now, like that confusion, what happens? What happens? If people have gone through a divorce, that's very painful. Very, very painful. Now, parents are, maybe the mom has gone with the children, because most of the time moms they have custody over the children. But now it is time to go for family reunion.
Yes.
Now this the mom and dad are not looking eye to eye. So now what happens? Do you see how difficult it can be? It's so messy. And who can straighten what has already gotten bad? So my advice, of course, is it's bad. Let's work on the relationships, because when we show up just for Christmas, for public appearance, you're still broken in the private space. So it doesn't make anything right. Of course, that's you can have just some seasonal happiness, but that's not the kind of relationships we are looking to have. That's not those are not. So it is. It's absolutely painful, very, very painful. And so when brokenness has already happened, festive season is not going to repair it. We cannot. So if we don't invest in that now, if the inevitable has happened in such a situation, it is one of the things I encourage is, let's try to protect our emotions from further damage. You have to make from further damage, because for instance, if the children are, now that scenario I shared earlier, if the parents have separated, children are here, but they enjoyed going to the village and they are happy to be with their cousins or with their parents, and maybe that's something you can consider. So there are certain, and I'm not being prescriptive here, because I acknowledge the pain that people are going through. My major or plain piece of advice is, try as much as possible to see, to ensure that you do not expose your wound to, you don't walk into the mud with an open wound, and make sure as much as possible, keep calm, make decisions that are really thought through. Don't be impulsive, and protect yourself from further or additional pain. If you have to say no to certain things, draw those boundaries to make sure that you protect yourself, protect your loved ones. But if you have to protect the children, protect them as well. Because if they're going to go to the village and cry all through, and
what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
So it's not, oh, let's go for Christmas. That's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
So if there is a dysfunctionality, try to fix it, but don't try to cover it with just the festive season. I hope that makes sense.
No, that does. It absolutely makes sense. And I think you talked about establishing boundaries. I think that would also work with families that are not getting along for some reason. Maybe you have, God forbid, land wrangles, or there's been a decision that has been made in the family that has caused a divide. So you have 3 camps in the family. A camp believes this, another camp believes that, and this one supports this one. And so you find yourself in a place like that, and yet your family tradition is such that we all go to the village, and so it's going to be tense, it's going to be uncomfortable, unpleasant, and yet this is supposed to be a season that...
Yeah, well, you're going to go there and cry all the way through.
Yeah,
so how helpful is that?
Yeah.
So it's not just tradition, it is wisdom. It's going to be wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's the most important thing. You mentioned something I didn't respond to about expectations of in-laws.
Yes.
In-laws. We talked about
we had a show, yes.
We had a show on in-laws.
Please watch that.
But I'll still go back to the piece of advice I gave before.
Yeah.
Let's apply wisdom. Let's apply wisdom. People will always have expectations, and I think in one of when I had just gotten married, I went to the village for Christmas, and there were everyone was waiting to give me to command me around. Here we do things this way. Yeah, all the distant cousins and all that. There's one I still remember, one who phoned me, read a newspaper after lunch, and he said, "Women in this family don't just sit and read. You're in the kitchen, so." I mean, you're going to get.
He took it upon himself
there's going to be ulesu things you talked about before. This is not how we dress and all. Yeah. So I think key driving principle is apply wisdom. Apply wisdom. Sensitize yourself on certain expectations. Be in a good place, because in every war, in every battle, that's not war. In every situation that we have to deal with, the most important person is you. Just check how you are able to respond to certain things, because those other expectations, you're not going to have a lot of control. But make sure that you're able to see things from the right standpoint. If someone is trying to bully you and tell you how you got married in their home now, as we do things this way, listen without conflict. As much as possible, I really want to encourage people, avoid conflict.
Yeah.
Avoid, most of the wars are not necessary.
Not necessary.
You see?
Yeah.
You're going to have lots of low-hanging fruits, but not every low-hanging fruit is for picking.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So just check. And my key message always is try to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
Inflated ego, all these things.
Some ignorance.
Some unrealistic expectations on you.
Yes.
And if you're not able to meet certain expectations, you can still look at them and say something. Say something. Say, "Oh, sorry, I'm probably not able now, but let's see." Yeah. There's a way. There's a healthy way we can get out of certain things. Remember, as much as possible, don't try to reason every person's behavior.
You will not succeed.
You'll not succeed. How? That's
what do you mean?
What do you mean? How can someone do that? Now, that's why we emphasize the issue of self-awareness, but also social awareness. Yeah. Educate yourself on why people do what they do. Why is this person doing this? Why are they not doing this? Now, that is going to determine your response. And that approach always helps to avert conflict.
That's true.
Because One of the things, honestly, Rachel, and my sisters, most of the time we leave the village with some unpleasant experiences. I had one who didn't allow visitors to enter their house. I had like some of these silly little unnecessary battles. I had one who their children cannot play with others. Like honestly, you can't survive a 4-day
trip. Yeah. You absolutely can.
I know someone who I think they locked their house and it was all an emergency, and then they wouldn't allow their husband or her to eat meals with another person, and they said we need privacy. And
are you serious?
So there are some, to be honest with you, there are some unnecessary,
very
battles.
Unnecessary.
You're going to exhaust yourself unnecessarily, emotionally, and it's not. So my message is choose your battles right. When you interact with people, just to know if you come from a certain place, economic class and social class and all, this is the time for you to enjoy the difference in cultural settings and educate, be inquisitive to know
the culture,
what people are expecting. Because, for instance, I know some people can spend a whole year in the city.
Yeah.
But there are certain dynamics, relational dynamics that happen in the village. You know, one of the other things I remember one time, I think, again, very young in marriage, you know, when you are a young person in a family, everyone is your boss.
Yeah.
Somehow. I remember one who was commanding me over kneeling. And I knew kneeling, but my husband was against it. And he was like, not every person in the village needs to receive
be knelt
that.
for, yeah.
And this person was seated commanding it. And
waiting, yes.
it was a bit of a show. Now, there are certain things we can avoid.
Yeah.
There are certain conflicts you're going to rise up and see things from a higher place and be able, someone says, oh, you haven't greeted me. Oh, you have. So we are talking about expectations of a certain group of people. Again, we can approach this with grace, with empathy, with wisdom, and make sure that the 4, 5, 7, 10 days you spend in the
are meaningful. They
are meaningful.
Conflict-free.
Free of conflict, free things that you can avoid intentionally, and make sure that if someone offers you this, you offer them the opposite.
Sure.
And so I think that's something that we have to be intentional about. Maybe to emphasize for people that mental health or relational health is intentionally achieved. It's intentionally achieved. We have so much control over our health than it is with physical health, by the way.
Yeah.
Physical health, yes, there's exercise, but there are certain illnesses that come to us that we are not able to avert. But mental health, it is intentional practices, intentional behaviors that are going to help us be well.
Yeah.
So we have to be mindful of where you stand as Evas, as Rachel. How are you approaching people? Are you intentional about loving people, or are you looking for conflict? It's also, Rachel, I've also noticed it's a season where, especially us women, we are going to men and saying, you have to protect me from your people. I think you've heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a common thing.
Yeah.
And I think I alluded to it during the session when on in-laws. Let's you've traveled to the village. There's certain things you can manage on your own, ladies. You don't have to see this, bring it to your husband. See this, bring it. It's also too much. Really, it is too much. And so let's try. Let's relax.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
One more thing, Rachel, that I've noticed that always brings conflict, and which people have to be aware of, and this time I'm speaking to my brothers. it brings a lot of conflict during the festive season when, like, this lady has not been allowed to go to their home as well. Have you seen that? Yeah.
Yes.
So for the past 10 years you've been married, Christmas is to your
village,
husband's place.
Yes.
But when they say, I also want to, can we also go to my village to see my parents? Don't you know you got married? I think I've met it a lot, a lot. By the way, during this Christmas season, January, that's when we have the highest clientele.
Really?
Because there's so much conflict.
Yeah.
And it is very unfair. It's extremely unfair. And sometimes men will say, or husbands will say, no, we don't have time. We don't have time. But also, let's take the children to see grandparents on the other side. We don't have time. So you spend the 4 days or 5 days resting, and you say, we are not traveling again. But then now this person leaves when they are angry and distressed and all that. So I think that's something also to bring up, that people need to be aware. It's fairness.
Yes.
How do we get food for mental health? Fairness. Fairness is a big thing. When people feel a sense of fairness, consideration, then they're going to be well.
Yeah.
That's how we have wellness and the whole mental health issue.
I like that. Fairness and consideration. So as we bring this to a close, Dr. Evers, I want you to give one piece of advice, because we've kind of touched on many different things that could potentially harm our mental health. There are people who are actively struggling with anxiety. They are active, even as we speak now, throughout the entire year. They are dealing with bipolar disorder. They are dealing with depression. They are dealing with a sense of sadness about all sorts of things. And then there's the other regular people, so to speak, who from time to time, yes, they might experience sadness, but they're able to pull themselves out of, a pit like that. What is that one piece of advice or wisdom that you'd give our audience to walk away with from this show on how they can go through the festive season in a mentally healthy way? Yeah.
You see, I've always given this message that certain ingredients that give us a happy life or wellness, and especially during this festive season, and that's where we started. Do this, do celebrate, do this, consider this. Yes, life is not going to change because of the festive season, but we can take advantage of this. What's the message in the festive season? It is Prince of Peace.
Yes, yes.
The peace. Now, these things that are emphasized are not just emphasized for religion, for that, but peace is a very important ingredient.
Whether you're religious or not.
Whether you're religious or not. But this is a season where we are celebrating the Prince of Peace. Now, that is an important spiritual aspect that people need to focus on and say, a season of peace, because that is mental programming. If you program yourself to pursue peace, irrespective of what has happened to you. And that's why I mentioned earlier that things that have already happened, if you can't change them, have peace over them. There is something peace does. Let me explain it psychologically. When you're calm, when you're peaceful, your brain thinks better.
Yes.
Right?
Clearly.
When you're frantic, confused, depressed, the brain malfunctions. So you're not going to process things. Your perception gets impaired. So when God offers us peace, then we need to know He's asking us to be functional in all aspects. He says, Prince of Peace. That's why we hear, peace be upon you, peace I leave to you, peace, peace, peace. And so we are celebrating a season of peace. Let's be intentional about peace. Let's make choices that are going to to foster peace. Those choices are important. The way you communicate, the decisions you make, the choices you make to relate, the way you manage your family, the way you talk to each other. let's pursue peace. Because peace is achieved out of pursuit.
I like that.
Yes. It doesn't just fall on you.
Fall on your laps, yes.
No.
You pursue it.
You have to pursue it. You see, I have to talk to my workers, okay? Because I'm pursuing peace. I have to talk to my husband, okay? Not because he's perfect, but because I need peace. And I'm offering peace. Now, I hear people look for peace. I need peace in my marriage. But check, what are you putting there?
Yeah.
Because anything you want in a relationship, you have to first plant it.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planting peace? You see? So let's pursue peace. Because peace, number one, I told you it's good for our mental functionality.
Yes.
But it's also important for our health. Because peace is the opposite of anxiety. You see? Why does God in His Word say, don't be anxious about anything?
Yes.
But
in everything,
through prayer, supplication with thanksgiving.
Yes.
Then present
your request.
What is He saying? Because once you lose peace, you can't do good supplication.
You can't even give thanks. Yeah.
You see? And therefore you're going to fail to pray.
This is true.
Have you ever prayed and you're listening to your anxiety? You kneel, you're praying, but you're answering yourself.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what happens. Now let's pursue peace intentionally. Peace is important for our heart, our cardiovascular system.
Yes.
It's important for your heart function.
Yeah.
It's important for your brain. It's important for the rest of the organs. You know, when we lose peace, we've lost everything.
Yeah.
So this season, irrespective of what has happened, be thankful that you've made it through the year. Maybe someone had what you are looking for, but they haven't had life throughout the year. Maybe because in every situation, in everything, be grateful.
Yes.
In everything, be grateful. Because there's something to be grateful for. And that will give us peace. Yeah. So once we approach the festive season, so my message to everyone is that let's be intentional about peace. Let's foster peace.
Yeah.
If the world could foster peace, I don't know how many of us would be healthy.
So many of us.
So many would be healthy. Look at the wars happening. Every time I look at people fight, I'm thinking, supposing you chose peace.
What if you chose
peace? What if you chose peace?
Yeah.
What if you chose to sit and talk? And let's bring this back here. Families, let's use this opportunity to hack peace. Maybe you've been conflicting all through. Maybe you have been, arrogant all through. Maybe you've pursued proving yourself to the other party that you're strong. But this is a season to pursue peace. Pursue peace. Be intentional about maybe your family has experienced challenges. There is always another opportunity. Maybe this is an opportunity to pursue. It's rooted in the choices we make.
That's true.
It's rooted in the decisions that we make. It is rooted in the energy we invest in pursuit.
I love that. Perfect way to close this show. Perfect way to close the show. I think the pursuit of peace, right from the nuclear level. Actually, let's start with the individual. Just for you yourself, what are the things you're watching? What are you listening to? How are you spending your time? How are you spending your energy? What kind of friends are you choosing? What kind of company are you choosing? That is the pursuit of peace at an individual level.
What thoughts?
And then, what thoughts are you allowing to go through your mind? And then translate that to your family or to your relationships. And then if that cascades to the rest of community, then surely the festive season should be okay for everybody, So that's it from us. Do you want to say Merry Christmas?
Oh, Merry Christmas to everyone, and let the Prince of Peace come into our
Christ.
lives and be real
Yes.
and change us. And I pray that as we go through this, it will be different. It will be different. I'm burdened by conflicts in families. Rachel, conflicts in families. The statement that we hear everywhere of the devil is against families. Families are breaking. Everyone is crying. This is a season for us. Take advantage of it and do things differently. What is it? Check what is taking peace away from your family, because it doesn't just go away.
No.
It goes away because of what we say or do or think. Let's try to take advantage of this season, enjoy the energy that comes with Christmas.
Yes.
And the blessings that come with Christmas.
Yes.
And let's take advantage of it and emerge out of it stronger persons, stronger families, stronger communities, stronger nations. I honestly pray that these wars will cease. I've been burdened by all the wars that are happening. Maybe this season will bring a different breath.
Maybe.
God bless you.
Wow. God bless you all. Thank you for watching this show. If you've not taken away anything from what we have said, pursue peace. I hope that is your takeaway from this show. If something else stood out for you, let us know in our comments. And please subscribe. Give this a thumbs up if this is the kind of content that you like. We'll see you back again next week. Until then, Merry Christmas. Bye.